Okay, since you got here early, it just kind of threw me off, so I had to make sure everything's operating properly.
Everything is working okay?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, we're on the air and everything's going good. We're on YouTube, and like I said, we have cameras. And if you see that painting right behind you,
Yes, to all of my friends. Uh-huh.
that's a painting of me. I drew that painting. It's a self-portrait.
What's in your hand there?
A knife. I cut my wrist open.
Oh, okay. That's pretty gruesome. A lot of blood there.
Yeah, there was a lot of blood.
And you're still here?
I'm still here.
What happened?
I committed suicide. I tried to commit suicide. I'm not good at stuff, you know. I tried to commit suicide, but I couldn't do it. So I cut my wrist and went to the hospital, and the paramedics showed up and went to the hospital. They cleaned my wound, which was probably the most painful thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, the doctor came and stitched it up, and, you know, then they took me to a rehabilitation center, and, you know, I had to stay there for a while, and so after that I went to rehab because it was all alcohol induced.
Sure.
So yeah, so it was just, you know, it was just a mess, but that's just a part of my life.
Well, and, you know,
And
it's a part of a lot of people's life, and I think it's next week, the first week in December, there's an event in Memorial Park in Upland, and I think it's called Out of the Darkness, and it is an annual event where it raises awareness of people with depression, suicide. It specifically points to celebrate the lives of people that have committed suicide in the past, that were successful in that, and also to raise awareness that there's hope for people that have depression, that have considered it but don't want to take that step because it's scary.
Yeah, no, it was scary. God, you know, I can go into real detail on it, but I won't. But no, I just went in the kitchen, and the picture you can see in the background, there's a sink. There's a sun and there's a moon. The moon's bleeding. I'm bleeding because it's very dark. It's kind of a gruesome picture.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that's what I noticed right away.
my art is very abstract, but I did a lot of this when I went to rehab. I was in rehab for probably about 50 days, and you would get bored because sometimes you'd have speakers because you have to go to these classes for NA and CA and AA, and you get some speakers that were just so boring, so you end up just doodling. So I would doodle, and I would just make these pictures, and then what I did is I remade one I did in rehab into a painting, and that's what came out.
Well, you're giving yourself some art therapy.
Yeah.
You know, because really you were expressing in that picture the emotions that you had at the time, the darkness, you know, the fact that you weren't successful. You know, there was probably some light there too, because if you really want to be successful, you can be. You know,
Yeah.
the people that are really dead set on doing that, oh my gosh, ooh, I didn't mean to come out that way, but people that are committed to that outcome have foolproof ways of doing it. I've lost three friends to suicide, and they had no good option. They just had no good option. It wasn't that they didn't have friends, but they could find no reason to have hope for happiness given their lot in life. And there was really, and they had good reason. They were mentally ill, and there was no way they could hold jobs. There was no way that they could really have long-term established relationships with people based on a sincere win-win relationship. They had issues, and it was hard for them to connect. And so suicide for them was an option that gave them the best hope. And it's sad, but it is reality for some people. There's people with diseases that they that there's no hope of coming out of. And I'm so glad that we live in California where the doctors then can prescribe them something that gives them a nice a passage that isn't painful.
Right.
I'm glad that we still have that, and that's something that if the legislatures feel like they need to take away from us, I would fight that tooth and nail because I think that that's humane.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you realize that your situation, the struggles with alcoholism, they never go away. That's my understanding. I have an addiction problem that will never go away. I just accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it is. I have a problem with eating. And starting 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I just want to eat.
But you're a thin lady. You don't look like it.
It's more of what my thoughts are. And I exercise. I get at least 3 to 5 miles a day so I can burn it off. But that still doesn't. The problem is I want to eat not for health purposes. It's for recreational purposes, and it's something that is in my head. If I'm bored, that's what I want to do. Is I want to eat things that aren't necessarily good for me. And I have gained weight, and I lose weight, and I just do that. And I have 3 sizes of clothes in my wardrobe that I keep packed up, and it just has to accommodate those fluctuations. It's just, and it is an addiction. It's just, that's what I think about. And when I'm dieting, that's all I think about. Oh my gosh, I've got to go out to dinner. What am I going to eat? What are the choices? How am I going to do this? It's just a weird focus, and I understand that. But I've got friends close to me that are alcoholics, and I don't see much of a difference as far as where you're thinking. Where am I going to get my just drink? How am I going to be? It's hard.
Yeah. When I quit drinking and my sweet tooth went crazy. I started buying ice cream every night, a pint of ice cream. Haagen-Dazs, Ben & Jerry's, whatever. I just wanted ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
31 flavors, whatever. I just wanted ice cream with chocolate in it, whether it's chocolate fudge or whatever. I just wanted ice cream.
I get it. Yeah, that's my favorite fantasy is ice cream with some chocolate in it. And I mean, nowadays you've got this ice cream called Halo Top. And it's 280.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah, 200. Yeah, $5 a pint. $5 a pint.
But it has no butter in it. Why are you charging so much for this? It's missing something.
Well, I find it as tasty. I personally, it's a different type of a texture. It's more of almost like a gritty type of texture, but it's I like the mouthfeel of it. And it's not the same as my favorite, which is Rocky Road. It doesn't have the nice marshmallows and the crunchy nuts in it, but still, it's a healthier choice. And any kind of ice cream is healthier than an alcoholic drink, unless you're looking at your 1 glass of red wine, which they say has your phytonutrients or something in them.
Right.
There's some benefit there, supposedly. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's like coffee. Everything's good and everything's bad. Everything's good in moderation. I mean, I just had a cup of coffee, but it's decaf because my doctor said, Dan, you can't drink caffeinated coffee.
What is going on with that?
I'll be honest with you. I have cirrhosis.
Oh, okay.
I lived like a rock star through my 20s and 30s. Even though I never was a rock star, I lived like one. I always worked the board, and I did stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been on stage a couple times, but I partied. I partied hard, man. I mean, so I'm paying for it now, and I have cirrhosis, and I'm going to see my specialist again in February, and she's going to put me in for a transplant. Maybe.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of scary.
That is scary, but I hope that works out because I've heard that it can have fabulous results.
Yeah, that's what she said. She's very good, and she tests me about every month. You know, she tests my blood and everything, and she says my liver's healing itself, but it's not up to par. It's still down below, the blood level wherever it's supposed to be. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so.
But congratulations for having the commitment to yourself to then say no to these things that are just so tempting to you, just so that you have the best chance possible for good health again.
Yeah.
That's good for you.
Yeah, and she said the one thing I have that's really on my side is I never smoked.
There you go.
I don't know why, but I never found that attractive. Did you ever smoke?
Oh, yeah. When I was in college, I was if I was partying, I could go through 3 packs a day.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom smoked, my dad smoked. Not a lot. They had this amazing ability to have 1 cigarette a day. They would, after dinner, they'd have a drink and they'd have their 1 cigarette. And I'm not one that's really good on moderation. I believe that I agree with you that moderation is the answer to everything, but I've just not found that moderation is so easily achievable for me. So when I was in college, and I was a partier, and I started stealing my mom's cigarettes when I was 12, and then I had a boyfriend that didn't smoke, so I didn't smoke for 3 years, and then after he and I broke up, I started smoking, and I just smoked like a fiend until I decided I moved from Orange County to San Diego, and I was in Pacific Beach, and everybody was healthy, and nobody was smoking. None of my friends smoked there, and I thought, well, I don't need to smoke now. I used to love to get together with my family, and we'd sit around, drink coffee, and smoke, and I didn't have that, so I just gave it up then, and it was really quite easy. But then I became a born-again Christian when I was there in San Diego, and I got into that, and not moderately, Lived in Mira Mesa, and I had home fellowships at my house, and we started the Calvary Chapel Mira Mesa in our house, and that was really cool. And then I moved again, and then had to survive. I moved to Eastern Washington, and then my focus was on just survival because we didn't have jobs there. We didn't have family. We didn't even know anybody there when we moved to Wenatchee, Washington, and survival was foremost on my mind.
So you lived in Pacific Beach.
Well, actually, I didn't live in Pacific Beach. That's where I quit smoking. I had stayed.
Oh, okay.
We rented a hotel there in Pacific Beach because my ex-husband was temporarily managing a ceramic tile showroom there, and so they just put us up in a hotel for a week. But then they transferred him permanently, and we bought a house, and we bought in Mira Mesa. We could never afford to buy a house in Pacific Beach, but it was glorious being in Pacific Beach.
Yeah.
Because it was just such a clean lifestyle.
Yeah, I lived in Ocean Beach for a while.
Nice, yeah.
Which was kind of like a hippie town, and it was really cool. Now it's like really gotten expensive, and the houses are all nice and modern. I lived in a cottage, just a studio in a little cottage, and I think my rent, this is going back before I was married. This is back like 25, 30 years ago, and I rented a cottage for like $500 a month, and I think that was it,
Yeah.
But my job was in Mira Mesa, which is where our distribution company had their distribution warehouse at with Mission Foods, Mission Tortillas, which was my workplace for years.
Wow.
So yes, no, I know Mira Mesa, I know Ocean Beach, I know Pacific Beach, Mission Beach, I know all those great beach cities down there. I never went down to Chula Vista. National City I somewhat knew, but yeah. No, I have a love for San Diego. I love when I meet people from San Diego.
It was just such an amazing place. The weather is perfect. The lifestyle, the health commitment of the people that I knew when I was there was really outstanding. I worked at an exotic pet store, And that was a kick, a total kick, selling these tarantulas and pythons, boa constrictors.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Oh,
No.
the hardest thing I had was crickets. My first day of the job, I'm in the back room, and I was a counter person, salesperson, but they asked for 100 crickets, and I'd never sold crickets before, and I had to sit up there and count out these jumpy little bugs as they're, jumping out of their container, and I'm just about crying, oh no, this is not going to work, because I didn't particularly care for these things, but, I just figured, they're not going to bite me, so I just got my hand in there and counted them out, and from there on in, it was fairly easy. Sometimes the snakes would strike at me, and that scared me, but I never got bit. And even the tarantulas, they're mellow. I didn't like it, but I just, okay, well, that's what I got to do. So I just put my hand in there and let the tarantula crawl on my hand, and I'd put it in the box.
I cannot do that. And snakes scare the crap out of me. I'm like... what Indiana Jones? I hate snakes. I hate them. I can't stand them. My son and his wife lived with us for a while, and they hid 2 snakes from me it was in the aquarium, and it was in the closet of their bedroom, it's now my office because they moved out. And one day I had to go in there and get something, and I saw those 2 snakes. I go, get them out. Get them out. I'll take them up to the top of Hellman, and I'll just dump the whole thing. I don't care. I don't like snakes in my house. They're like, it's fine, Dan. They're in a cage. I go, I don't care. I don't like snakes.
Well, I mean, and we all have our fears,
Yeah.
and they're not necessarily rational. And it's not, for me, it wasn't a matter of being good or bad. I just don't have fears of animals. Some animals. So for some reason, grasshoppers freak me out, but snakes weren't one of them. I ended up somebody brought in a boa constrictor that was starving, and I brought it home, and I nurtured it, and it got to be 6 feet long. And one day I put it in the bathtub because they like to swim around a little bit, and I left it alone, and I came back, and it was wound around the fluorescent tubing in the light fixture. And it's extremely difficult to unwind a snake from fluorescent tubing without breaking the tubing. And this was in an apartment, so I just kind of figured it'd come out on its own. And a friend came over, had to use the bathroom, and I forgot to warn her that there was a snake on the light fixture, and she came screaming out of the bathroom and said she'd never come to my house again. So I get it. They're not the best pet for everybody.
Yeah, no, my wife amazed me. She can have a snake wrapped around her neck, and it's no big deal for her. I can't. She's like, here, just touch it. I go, no, I can't. I can't touch it. I know I should get over my fear and do it, but I can't get over it. That's one fear I just can't,
It's something that it's not going to hinder your everyday life. I mean, there's really not a big reason why you should get rid of your fear of snakes, and a lot of people share it. I had a funny situation. I had 2 snakes at that time, and I was invited to come to a kindergarten class and demonstrate the virtues of snakes. And I'm talking to the kids. I am holding one snake in each hand, not paying attention to what the snakes are doing. And I noticed the kids are starting to giggle, and I looked down, and I wore a button-up shirt, and the one snake was crawling in between the top buttons, at my chest level. And I'm thinking, whoa, this is not the show that I had planned to give these kids. But I had a lot of fun with them, and they ended up, one of them ended up dying, the rosy boa. Someone had found a rosy boa, and they're native snakes, and they're beautiful little snakes they never get very big, very docile, and it had a mouth infection.
Okay, I got a message. This is from Doug in England. He said, you're not afraid of snakes, but are you afraid of clowns? Because, I dress up as a clown once in a while.
Me? Clowns are kind of creepy.
A lot of people feel that way.
My students, we would talk about it, and the kids, we talked about clowns, and they'd say, "Oh, clowns are just creepy." I read the book It. I didn't find that book particularly scary. I thought it was just kind of weird, and I don't find them scary. They're just, I don't know. When someone has to put all that makeup, just seems weird to me. You know, I'm not a makeup person. It just seems weird to have stuff on your face that feels kind of bad. Every time I used to wear makeup, it just always felt weird. So I don't know. It just seems creepy.
Yeah, it's strange to put it on because first you have to powder your face with baby powder, and then you put your makeup on. Because I go on stage and be a clown, and the lights just like if you don't put on the powder, your makeup melts and you look like a zombie after a little while. So you put on the powder, you put on your makeup, and then you go on stage. And I play in a band, called the Yeasty Boys, not the Beastie Boys, the Yeasty Boys. And we throw out balloons and beach balls, and we just have a blast, and we play old punk rock songs, and all my friends are in the band, and
do they dress as clowns?
Yeah, everybody dresses as clowns.
Wow, what instrument do you play?
Guitar, if I have to play. If not, I just work the board.
Oh, fun!
And but no, there's about 20 members in the band, but only 5 members take stage. So with the makeup, sometimes you don't know who's playing.
Oh, sure.
I know the key players very well because they wear the same clown outfits, but sometimes we have these other guys in playing, and I'm like, who's this guy? Because I can't tell because, then I see it's Casey Royer from the band DI, or it's Diana Cancer from 45 Grave is playing. And I'm like, I didn't know that was Diana Cancer. I don't know. They saw these people. And what a name that is, Diana Cancer. But,
is that what the name she was born with?
No.
Oh, she took that on.
Yeah.
She chose it. Okay. Well, there you go. Nothing like normalizing a situation that nowadays is becoming very normal. So where do you play?
Orange County Observatory, the Doll Hut in Orange County. Most of the places are down in Orange County, Huntington Beach, Long Beach, all down that way. Sometimes up here. Sometimes they play up here at the Elks Lodge or something.
Well, I wouldn't find that creepy. I mean, I used to go see, I saw Kiss and, Alice Cooper, and, that wasn't creepy. That was just part of the act. So, that's not scary or creepy.
No, I actually ran into Alice Cooper. I was going to a sales meeting with U.S. Foods when I worked for them, and I met him at brunch, and he is the nicest guy, and he's been sober now for like 20 years, and he is just downright planted on the ground, solid guy. I mean, he's like, you would think he'd be a creep, but he's not. He's like really cool. He's just like, hey man, how you doing? I'm like, good. Would you take a picture with me? He's like, yeah, I'll take a picture with you.
How cool is that? How long ago was that?
That was probably about 20 years ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But yeah, that was in L.A. I was just there for a sales meeting, and I happened to run into him.
That's so cool when people are unaffected by their fame. I love that.
Yeah, and he goes to AA, and he speaks at AA meetings, and he's one of my inspirations.
That is great. Well, I'm glad I brought him up because I saw him early on in his career, and I always liked his music. And School's Out, that was his, right? School's Out.
Yeah.
School's
out for summer.
Yeah.
School's out forever.
Schools exploded.
Yeah.
We always play that at the school where I taught it the last day.
What grade did you teach?
2nd grade most of the time. I taught 3rd grade for about 5 years, and 2nd grade for about 12 years.
Well, that's a pretty good age. Kids are usually pretty good then.
Well, they're fabulous. You could be Attila the Hun and they still love you. They love school in second grade. And, they're not inhibited. And that's what I like the most. In third grade, I noticed I like to get them out in their seats and moving around to keep their attentions focused and to have fun. And they'll come to school with a good attitude as long as they're having fun. So about every hour, I get them out of their seats doing something. And we like to dance. And starting in third grade, they're starting to look around, see who's watching them, making, they're kind of worried if they have the moves. And it's like, oh, no, you dance like everybody is blind. You don't even worry about that. That's no fun. But in second grade, you hardly even have to mention that. You get the kids doing the worm down the middle of the class and getting exercise and just having fun.
Yeah, I remember in sixth grade, we had a square dance. And I hated it so bad because, you had to stand in a line and a girl had to pick you to square dance with.
Uh-huh.
So I had to sit there and I'll mind you, I don't know if you know the story, but in sixth grade, I have one leg that's longer than the other. Or it's actually not the leg, it's my hips weren't adjusted right. But my doctor gave me prescription shoes, Buster Brown, black dress shoes, and I had leg braces. And then I go to my orthodontist and he put braces on me and then he gave me headgear and he goes, well, you have to wear your headgear all day. I'm like, ugh.
This is in sixth grade. You had braces on your leg and braces, headgear on your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
And prescription shoes.
Oh my gosh.
So I wasn't very popular.
That would be awkward. Sure, I get it.
I had a tomboy that kind of took a liking to me, and she would always pick me, so I was always kind of safe with her.
Oh, that's good.
And it's funny because her name was Rhonda, and my wife's name was Rhonda.
Help me, Rhonda.
Yeah, because I felt so stupid standing there, and I was always the last guy to be picked, and I couldn't do PE, I couldn't do anything, and I had asthma, and I just... my preteen days were a mess. I mean, I literally would just, I was picked on and bullied so much. I don't know where you stand on bullying, but I'd go out on the playground just to try to play tetherball, and there'd be this guy, I remember his name was Mark, and he would come and he'd push me down and laugh at me because I couldn't get up because I had my leg braces on.
Oh.
And then I'd get up, struggle, and I got up, and then he'd come back and he'd push me down again. Then I'd struggle and get up, and then he'd have his friend stand behind me or sit behind me, just sit behind me, and he'd push me down over his friend. And I'm like, that's when I, went kind of nerdish and joined chess club.
There you go.
And I just went straight from the classroom right to the lunchroom where the chess club was and played backgammon and chess and dominoes, and I didn't go out in the playground at all.
There you go. And it's good that you had those options because I think there are people that have just really mean streaks. We are animals, and animals like to have a domination a hierarchy, and they like to position themselves in hierarchies. And when we're little kids, we don't have the insight to know that how people treat others are more of a reflection on the person that's doing the treating than the person that they are hurting. When you get older, you see that. When you're young, you internalize it. What's wrong with me? Boy, look at everybody's laughing at me. That means there's something wrong with me. Kids don't, you did not see it that way. And I was bullied too. I had asthma when I was a child, and I wasn't able to do any of the sports, the activities, because it was exercise-induced asthma. And that was really hard. My dad died when I was 12. That sucked really badly because then everybody was feeling sorry for me and awkward around me. It was a horrible situation. And so it's just remarkable that it's not surprising that then you had a problem with alcohol later on because you had this trauma this was ongoing as a young person. You know, that is really hard to have that with braces on your face and on your legs at 6th grade, probably the most difficult year of your life. You know, there you are, you're transitioning into humanhood, into adulthood. You've got these hormones going through you, and this is where the kids really do like to establish themselves in their pecking order, and you got the brunt of it. I think nowadays we're so lucky that we have a lot of awareness on the effects of bullying. I know Christy Mack has got her Ladies of the Inland Empire for Strong Communities that have an anti-bullying program that works well. And we've got this wonderful organization in Upland for Kathy Warsar has got an organization. The name of it escapes me, but it's a whole anti-bullying program. And it's working more towards, called Empowering the Youth. That's it. It's how to empower youth so that no matter what is happening externally to you, you've got the confidence, you've got the self-esteem, the awareness that this is more of a reflection of other people than of you. You have your own feeling of self-worth and confidence so that you can more easily ignore or deal with those external forces. But back then, in those days, you were in 6th grade, that was in the 80s, 70s when you were in 6th grade? Yeah, 70s probably.
Yeah, late 70s.
Late 70s, yeah. So, we didn't have that awareness then. I think we were just kind of accepting of the fact that we were hierarchical animals and, let the strongest survive. And now we're seeing that there's probably some flaws in that. And probably those that can play chess and board games have got some skill sets that we all benefit by too.
Yeah, I'm very glad to see this anti-bullying thing take place nowadays, being as I was bullied so much, and it's very nice. I didn't get to be who I am until I was like 16-ish when I got my license, and I got the leg braces off, and I got the headgear off, and then I started to drive, and I started getting into punk rock, and I started going to shows, and I started meeting people, and, unfortunately drinking and getting high and doing coke and all these other things, that I shouldn't have done. But I did because I was suppressed for so long.
And it was available in those days.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the a social glue. Getting high with your friends was a way of letting down your guard, of being vulnerable, of sharing an experience. And so it was a social glue with a lot of people in Orange County in the 70s and in the 80s. And I was part of that culture. Fortunately, my situation was I had to work. We just didn't have a lot. So I had to work, and I had jobs where I just couldn't be stoned. I had to be sober. So that was not a choice that I had, and it wasn't a problem for me, and I was very lucky in that regard.
Yeah, when I was in my 20s, back in the 80s, I worked at Vaughn's. I did night crew. We stocked shelves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when my Coke problem happened. I got a big bag of Coke from a friend for real cheap. So I started reselling it to all the guys on the night crew, stocking shelves. And we were stocking shelves like madmen. My manager came up to us and said, "What are you guys doing? You guys are doing 50 cases an hour. You guys are amazing." He goes, "It's great." He goes, "Keep it up." I'm like, I gotta quit. I can't do this. It's too good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much done.
Yeah, I never had that opportunity. Nobody got me a big bag of Coke. I can see that. I traveled to Peru and Bolivia in the Andes there, and coca leaves was a big part of their culture.
Yeah.
And that began because they were working in the mines, and they were productive. They had problems with altitude sickness, and the coca leaves helped with the altitude sickness and helped give them the stamina to do the very hard labor. Now, cocaine is a much higher distillation of the leaves that they use. I mean, the leaves weren't even really what I would call psychoactive. I was down there and I ended up with a horrible abscess on one of my teeth, and I got rid of it by putting coca leaves up there with a little alkali in the center. But it was my cup of coffee was more psychoactive than the coca leaves were. But I definitely saw how it did help the stamina, and it did help the altitude sickness.
Yeah.
So but that's how that was the origin of cocaine, basically. Then they figured out how to make it stronger.
Yeah, there's that, and back then, and I still work in rehab. If you haven't worked the 12 steps, the 12th step is helping others, and that's what I do. I still go to it's been 2 years. I still go to my rehab center and I talk to people. And the big thing now is heroin.
That's what I hear, yeah.
Heroin is taking off, and I see these kids there that are like 25, 26 years old, and I'm like, so what's your problem? And and they like talking to me because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm just, I'm an alumni. And I just say, well, why are you here? They go, heroin. I go, so when did you start? They go, when I was 13. I'm like, what? To me, heroin was like forbidden. I mean, I never did heroin. I mean, I did a lot of drugs, but I never did heroin, and I never did meth, and meth is off too, and so are prescription drugs. Mm-hmm. So, so it's just hard to see that, these drugs are taking off, and...
Well, apparently the poppies grow in Mexico. Some of the valleys in Sinaloa are very good for the some of the valleys in Sinaloa, the high altitude valleys, are very good for the poppies to grow, and then that is a very low cost form of heroin when it just comes from Mexico instead of from overseas in Asia someplace,
Pakistan or Afghanistan.
Right. Yeah, to me it was something that was never an option. I didn't live in New York City. I know that there was always an issue of heroin in New York City, even in the 60s and the 70s, but that wasn't part of my culture in Orange County, and it was not an issue there, and neither was meth. But I have family members that became a meth addict, and he's been sober now for 20 years, and I still celebrate his sobriety on that. But he lost teeth and has got long-lasting repercussions from that addiction. But the heroin, that kills people. And there was we just saw this, it was a documentary called Heroin after the word heroin, there was an E in brackets, and it's about 3 women that are fighting the heroin epidemic in some small community. I believe it was I can't remember which state it was, but it was really interesting in how it's so much more available now, and it's not expensive, and it produces an immediate relief of uncomfortable feelings, puts a person into an ecstatic state very cheaply and quickly, and that's apparently the allure. And that's quite scary because it's also easy to get impurities, it's easy to overdose, and it's very easy to become addicted. And, it's an easy step if you get, let's say that you're like my husband, he had to take painkillers because of his surgery. Well, he's smart enough he withdrew from the painkillers as soon as he could possibly.
Good.
But some people can't. And so when they can no longer get those painkillers, my understanding is that's when they can go to the black market and get the heroin, which would have the same type of relief that an addiction to painkillers would. But no, my husband is very independent. He does not have time in his life for a painkiller addiction. So he may be screaming and crawling on the wall, but he is not going to be addicted to his Percocet.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm down to, I was on 7 drugs a day. I'm down to only 3. and my vitamins, which aren't considered drugs. I just buy them at Rite Aid. But where do you stand on medical marijuana?
That is a really complicated issue, and I'm starting to rethink this. I'm in the second book on the drug cartel, the Mexican drug cartel. I read The Power of the Dog, and that was the first of, oh gosh, I can't even think of I read everything on a Kindle, so I don't see the jacket, and I don't remember who the author is. And now I'm reading the book called The Cartel, and it talks about the influence of the cartel, the growth of the cartel. It's a historical novel. But it's based on real life features. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I had no idea the amount of violence that the marijuana trade had in it. So I've always been a kind of libertarian on this, live and let live. I think that most marijuana usage is probably less dangerous to people than alcohol use. I've had my life negatively influenced by alcoholics much more than people that smoked pot. Most of the time, the worst thing I'd see on somebody smoking pot is they'd get locked in their lounge chair and they wouldn't do anything. You know, I've seen people that weren't very motivated and probably didn't accomplish as much as they could have had they not smoked a lot of pot. But I've not witnessed anybody getting stoned and beating their spouse or beating their kids when stoned. I've just not seen that. Of course, I do have a limited amount of life experience on that. Medicinal marijuana, I have a friend who she's an older lady. She was not a pot smoker, but she had stage 4 ovarian cancer, and her chemo treatments caused her such nausea that the doctors discontinued them, and she did not have a good prognosis to live. So her brother said, hey, try some medicinal marijuana. This can get rid of your nausea. She did. She was able to eat. They were able to continue her treatments, and it's over 10 years later. She's still alive, doing very, very well. I believe that medicinal marijuana is a lifesaver. It can help people with epilepsy, with pain, with all sorts of things. So I completely agree that the law should be that people have access to it. As far as recreational marijuana, I've not seen that that prohibition kept people from drinking, so I don't see how prohibition would keep people from using marijuana. But what I am concerned about is children, and I will always be concerned about children. As things are normalized, then some of the dangers might not become apparent. And I don't think that marijuana has been studied to the point where we know what the dangers are. I mean, people have used marijuana for thousands of years,
Right.
but we haven't studied the dangers of that well. And I think until then, we need to be conscious of the fact that marijuana may affect children and their neurological development different than adults, and children need to be protected from that kind of influence and advertising. Particularly, remember how they used to have Joe Camel and the Marlboro Man and that normalized smoking? Well, that the same, and we have alcohol ads that make alcohol look normal and sexy and all of that. I'm concerned that legalizing marijuana is going to do the same thing, and I don't see that as a benefit to society to have more addictives. Well, I wouldn't say that marijuana is addictive. I just don't know about that. That has not been studied. I knew a guy that every morning he would get up and he'd smoke a joint. He was a Vietnam vet with undiagnosed PTSD. That's how he coped. I'm not passing judgment, but I would say that was an addiction, because that's what he did every day, and he continued to smoke, and he didn't have a productive life. But would he have anyway? I mean, you go to Vietnam and you see horrific things, and you come back and have to deal with the pain and the tragedy that you've witnessed. You know, how do you recover from that even without a drug, you know?
Yeah, with marijuana, it's funny because, it's still somewhat illegal. Federally, it's illegal, but you can still buy it. There's a couple dispensaries in Upland, and I don't smoke marijuana. I did a couple times in my 20s. I didn't like it. All it did was make me laugh and make me hungry. and then I'd go to sleep. I mean, that was pretty much it. I really didn't like it that much. In fact, I worked for a marijuana dispensary up in Victorville, and I did deliveries for them down here. And yeah, one of my customers, he didn't buy marijuana to smoke, but he bought the edibles, the brownies and the cookies and stuff that were made with marijuana butter. And he was an older man in a wheelchair, and he goes, "These help so much for my pain."
Right.
He goes, "It just really helps." He goes, "I'm not a smoker," and he goes, "but these brownies that you guys make are really good." He goes, "I just really like them, and they really make me feel good."
Yeah, and I think that that's important that people have access to that. I went to a fundraiser up at Mount Baldy for the volunteer fire department there, and a woman was working there, and she had 2 types of stage 4 cancer, and she said that she would come to Captain Jackson Upland, and she got what she needed to help her stay clear of cancer. That's what she firmly believed, and I said, good for you. Good for you. You know, I am so glad that you're still healthy after all that you've gone through. And I'm glad that you are able to get what you need to continue to feel that way. I think it's important that people have access to it.
Yeah, me too. The only thing I didn't like about when I was working at the dispensary, because I work in the store once in a while, I do the books there, and I also work the counter once in a while, is I'd be suspicious of some people that would come in and buy quite a bit, and I knew they were going out and reselling it to kids.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
And I'm like, you know what, you can't do that. What are you going to do with this? He goes, I got some buddies who smoke it. I'm like, no, there's something wrong here. I don't know what you're doing. You're reselling it. We can't have that. You know, I'm going to put you on a no-sell list.
There you go. I think life, a lot of things in life are various shades of gray, not black and white. And marijuana is definitely one of them. And one of the things that I am concerned about is marijuana is getting stronger and stronger. Back when I used marijuana, which was in college, and that was in the 70s, you know, it was homegrown and Mexican, and you could smoke a whole joint, and you could still write a check and drive your car, and you would not be you wouldn't be very impaired. You could still function quite well. I don't think that's the case with some of the marijuana that's available now. And the edibles, my understanding is, and I don't use marijuana, so I have enough challenges in my life sober to deal with that. But and I don't have pain. Thank goodness, my health is great. So, but when I was diagnosed with cancer, before I had chemo, I did, because of my friend, I did go out and I bought myself some marijuana. And it turned out I didn't get nauseated. I did try it anyway, and it was very strong, and I didn't like the feeling of it. So, I mean, that was 11 years ago, and I just didn't like being locked in my couch. So I'm kind of a get up and go person. I don't sit down too well for anything. So it was an uncomfortable. But I mean, when I was in college, I loved laughing. And yeah, I laughed. Oh God, things were funny.
Jamal, come on in.
Hey, hi, I'm Janice.
Oh, I'm Jamil.
Nice. Have a seat.
Take this mic right here.
I came here for a long time. I thought that you guys had a show, so I didn't bother you.
I didn't know you were here.
Yeah, I was just sitting over there. I was just listening.
This is my friend from New York Bagel Company. Yeah, go and put those on.
Thank you.
It's a side feed microphone, so just speak right into the band.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, you're good. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to meet you too. Where is your store?
Oh, we are located actually Archibald and Foothill Boulevard, right in the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, where the Starbucks complex on the big complex over there. They're right over there.
Okay, excellent. How long have you been there?
Just 3 months. Yesterday been 3 months.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, very
Starting a new business.
It is a new business. We are actually franchise from New York, and this is the first one they open in West Coast.
Oh, wow.
and happened to be in Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Excellent.
And we welcome it because the bagel industry was booming back in the 90s, I think it was.
Right.
We had
Mhm.
42nd Street Bagel. We had Locke Street and I think Claremont is the only one that has a local bagel company. We had Western Bagels.
Noah Bagel, Einstein Bagel. There,
Yeah,
there are lots
yeah,
of bagel
yeah,
company. Yeah.
they're all kind of gone. And I don't know why, because I love bagels.
Thank you. Thank
You know,
you.
you see me all the
I
time.
see you all the time.
We need a
Danny.
bagel store in downtown Upland. We've got Rad Coffee, so we need a bagel store there too. And I've thought that for a long time because what I like about bagels is they're tasty, they're a fast breakfast, but
Right.
yet they're still healthy,
Healthy
for
for-
you.
right,
So
exactly.
it's the best of all possible
Right,
worlds.
right. It's a bagel actually really healthy, and there are lots of different kind of cream cheese we carry, and lots of different flavors of the bagels. Yeah, it's very easy to good to go. Just grab a coffee and a bagel with the cream cheese.
And the
Yeah.
salmon lox
Right.
really
Oh,
good
that's
for you, really
perfect.
good for
Yes.
your heart.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and they have tea and juices and everything there at the shop.
Yes. And we
Uh,
have huge, actually, it's all a New Yorker their sandwich for the lunch sandwiches, a Cuban sandwich, a Reuben, Philly cheesesteaks, and we carry all boar's head meat, which is very
Boar's
yeah,
Head, yeah.
boar's head, very good meat, very good meat. They don't use any kind of preservatives or anything like that, so they are very healthy and good meat. Yeah, so we carry those also. So it's perfect. Yeah, we have a huge sandwiches for lunch too, and the breakfast as well.
So what are your hours?
Hours are we open 6 o'clock in the morning. We close at 4, and every day on weekdays, and then weekend only on Sunday we open 7 o'clock and close at 2. Otherwise, Monday to Saturday, 6 o'clock in the morning and 4 we close.
Are you there all
I
those
am-
hours?
He's there in the morning.
Morning, yeah, no. Right now, I want to be there because we just opened
Right.
3 months. I want to be all the time, as much time as I can, to be
Mhm.
with the customers, to be with our businesses, to promote our business. Yeah, and thank God that we are getting very good feedbacks from the local, and then Upland, as you said. Today, actually, I had a very good, nice customer. She came and she bought 2 dozens of bagel for our office.
All right,
Right on.
nice.
Thank you. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I think that's important as a CPA before being a teacher, before being a council member. And I know that first year is so critical.
Right.
And it's important that you are there. And that's why I asked that
Yes,
question,
yes.
is because you need to get that feedback and be able to respond very quickly. Because even if you have people that work for you that you can trust, they may not be able to convey
Oh,
the
absolutely.
feedback that you need to hear so that you can make the adjustments
right,
in time.
right.
So,
yeah.
because every community is different, their needs and everything, and you may find out that there's this commuter group that start real early in the morning,
Right.
and you may have to adjust hours or something,
Right,
or your a number of people that are working there so that they can get in and out and not be late for work.
Right. That is the one we are focusing actually very closely. I am there and then with our all the employees, but we don't want that the customer wait
Yeah,
for a long time.
that's critical.
And then whatever the customer, yeah, definitely it's not going to be 100% good everything. Yeah, but at least we listen. We try to fix all those problems, and we are on the right track.
I've never had a problem there, and I've been there.
Oh, thank you,
many
Dan.
times.
Yeah. You are actually every time in the morning. Yeah. Nice
Yeah.
to see you over
No,
there.
the
also.
staff loves it. The staff, unfortunately, is not really here. I am the staff. So if you see me racing around and going into the engineer booth, that's what I'm doing. Because the staff is kind of taking the week off because of holiday. So
Oh, I got for you also today 2 bagel sandwiches with egg and cheese, and then one with the I have over there. I
Oh,
put it in
great.
the other. So once you finish, maybe you can have your breakfast.
yeah.
So you
definitely.
have eggs for the
Oh,
bagels
yeah, yeah,
too?
we
So
do.
someone
Oh.
come in and actually get a scrambled egg bread?
Absolutely, yes.
well,
And it's not like that. There are lots of places they have pre-made. I mean, they just take it out from the boxes
Oh.
and then they warm it and put it in there. Those are also good, but we literally we take out the eggs and we scramble and then we put on a grill and then we do all fresh. Everything
Wow.
fresh in the morning you can get.
Yeah, see,
Wow.
Everything.
that's
This
where-
is the good things that we do all fresh things. Yeah.
That's where your bagels are different because for the longest time, before I saw your shop open, I would get my bagels at Albertsons. And I was talking to one of the bakers there, and I'm like, do you guys make your bagels? She goes, no, they come in frozen. We just heat them up here.
Right.
And that's,
Most of the
and I could tell the difference
Right,
between
right,
your
right.
bagels and their bagels.
right.
Your
right.
bagels are a lot more softer and
Yeah, the New York
better.
bagel, 100%. Yeah, New York bagels are way different. They
That's what
say
I've
that
heard,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Their food all are way different than from our California, definitely, and especially the bagel. They are really, really good. Yeah, I have lots of New Yorkers. They comes all the time, and they said that, oh, this is the real New York bagel. You are not faking us. You are really doing.
Well, my
That's a
sister
good-
from Manhattan is
Oh,
coming next week.
yeah,
so I'll take
exactly,
her there and I'll say,
absolutely.
"Liz, what do you
Yes, yes. So
think?"
the address is 8019 Archibald Avenue, Rancho Cucamonga,
Now,
California.
what corner is that? Northeast, southeast? Because I'm trying to
Oh.
visualize which corner that is.
Northeast.
It's the northeast corner of Archibald
Yeah.
and
North of Starbucks,
And
right by
Foothill.
4-star comic books.
Right. It's a
Uh,
Foothill and Archibald.
South
Okay.
of Stevie D's.
Yes.
Okay.
One more time address 8019 Archibald Avenue, Rancho Cucamonga,
You
California.
have to come and get their bagels. Support local business. Support your local radio station.
Thank
okay?
you, thank you, Dad. Thank you very much. Exactly.
So you're from
Bangladesh.
Are you from Bangladesh or is your family from Bangladesh?
Yeah, my family from Bangladesh. I'm also from Bangladesh, but right now I'm living here almost like how many years? 18 years
Okay.
in California. So my kids.
You like it?
Oh, absolutely. There is the best place in the earth. I've been lots of country. I studied actually Russia for a long time. I lived over there also. I was in Europe, many countries, and definitely the America is the best one. Yeah, right now this is my country. Yeah, I'm here 18 years. My 3 kids are born here, raised here, so everything is great. Yeah.
Do you live
Yeah.
in Rancho Cucamonga?
I live in Rancho Cucamonga last 5-6 years. I live in Rancho Cucamonga. I used to live in downtown on Koreatown area, and then I moved here last 6 years. Yeah,
nice.
I loved it. Yeah, everything is great here. Rancho is getting such a good city
Yeah.
for everything. The schools are great. Definitely. I mean, we don't have that many crimes. Also, this is the great. Everything is great here.
I love
We just
Rancho.
Rancho. And for dining, also, that's what I was talking to Dan, that this is right now, the Rancho has such a nice dining places. I mean, you name it, every single franchise, every single food, morning, afternoon, dinner, everything you can have it in Rancho.
All
Yeah.
price
It's a great-
ranges,
yeah,
a
pri-
lot of
yeah.
different choices
Right,
there.
right, a lot
That's
of
nice.
different
Victoria
choices.
Gardens
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
All sorts of
yeah.
great shopping opportunities
right,
and
right.
restaurants there as well.
Right.
And what I like about Victoria Gardens that I'd really like to see in Upland, you can hang out. You know, you've got those
Oh,
fountains
absolute.
where the kids can play, and people can just sit around and talk. A band will come and play music, and like Claremont has this too in front of the Lemley Theater. You can just hang out, get something to drink at one of the local establishments, something to eat, and not
Ri-
spend much money and
Right,
enjoy
right,
yourself. You can go
right.
to the movies,
Right,
and
perfect.
that's something that I think all communities really need, to have some kind of a community center
Right.
where people can just go and cheaply hang out, be with friends, be seen, and
Right.
Yeah, downtown Upland is kind of going that direction with J.D. Allison's and their outdoor patio and Charlie's Stars and Stripes. And of course, our sponsor, Pacific Wine Cellars.
Mm-hmm.
right there on A and Second. And, you know, downtown Upland, I think, is really doing good. And then you have the colonies, which I go up there once in a while, but not too often. I prefer the downtown Upland scene.
I like downtown. I shop at the colonies, but I like downtown. What we don't have in Upland that I would really love to see is a thriving theater where people can go, and then afterwards, like I was saying in Claremont, and I like J.D. Allison's, I like Pacific Wine Merchant, I like Cafe Allegro, I like Charlie's, the outdoor, but you can't just take your book there. You can't just sit out there and read, wait for your friends, you know, go to Starbucks or, you know, to Rad and have a cup of coffee. You pretty much have to be there to buy something, and then at some point you need to leave to clear up space for the next customer. We need more of a community center where people can go,
Right,
just
right.
hang out at any time, and know that they can run into their friends. So right now, that's what I do in Claremont. You know, if I want to just go and hang out, I'll go to the theater in Claremont. You know, maybe have dinner there in that area, and then just hang out, listen to the dogs when they go and, you know, play at the Lemley Center there, or at Sheldon Park, and they have like 3 or 4 places during the summertime where the bands go, and you know, you can just spend all night there if you can find a parking place. Now, the nice thing about Upland is you can always find a parking place, and that's
Right,
important.
right.
But
Yeah,
and same thing in Rancho Victoria Gardens. You can always get
Victoria
a
Garden,
parking.
exactly.
You may
yeah.
have to walk, you know. So we have legs. If you are disabled, that is a challenge. You know.
Yeah, Victoria
Well,
Garden is great too.
Upland does have the Grove Theater.
They do, and they've got great plays. Not everybody can afford to go out to see a live, you know,
Musical,
performance or a
or, yeah.
musical, and so that's why a theater where you just see. You know, I know you want to go see Thor or something. Everyone's talking about Thor, so you go see Thor, and then you just kind of hang out. It's more affordable, and the Grove is in southern Upland. Of course, it attracts people from all over. You know, but for some reason they seem to be struggling, and I don't know why that is. I enjoy going to the Grove and seeing their productions.
The owner, Bill Kennison, is a very good friend of mine. I've known Bill for years, and I also know Tammy Rapp from Little Shop of Hairdos.
Yes, great.
And she, well, God, you know, there's so many things I can't say on the air, but a little bird told her that Bill may be selling the Grove. So I don't know.
I don't know. You know, the Grove is a gem, an unpolished gem.
Oh, yeah.
And
I wish they had live bands there.
Well, and I think, don't they have tribute bands there on a regular
Yeah,
basis?
they had Pink Floyd tribute band
Right,
there
but they
just
do
now.
have them. When I go see live bands, I want to dance. And I don't.
That's
and,
good.
and when
yeah.
I go to the Grove, I don't see a place where I can dance without being in someone's way. So I don't even, in my mind, going to the Grove isn't a place where I would search out live music, because I don't feel like I would be comfortable dancing there. As in Claremont, there's a big area you can dance anywhere. There in the outdoor areas.
Yeah, what they need to do is remove a couple rows of seats and, you know, put a dance floor in, I think.
But then they have the live theater, and you know, if they want to sell out, so maybe you have seats there that are removable for something like that. Because I know that in Claremont there used to be Griswold's, but Candlelight Pavilion, they have the tribute bands there, and they have live theater there as well, and it's dinner theater. And I've gone to both there, and that seems to work. When I dance, I just kind of go over to the side there. There's places where I can dance and nobody sees me, and that works for me.
So you like Claremont?
Well, I lived there a long time. And I was a CPA in the village, and I lived on Yale Avenue. I worked on Yale Avenue.
Oh, so you
So
know, yeah, that's
I
your
was-
place, yeah.
It was a place that I have heartstrings
Right,
to,
absolutely,
and when I go
yeah.
to church, it's there in
Oh,
Claremont.
yes, yes.
So there are some heartstrings there, and they've done some things right in Claremont that I would like to see Upland emulate. Same thing in Rancho. So
Yes,
I
yes.
watch what's going on in both communities, but I still take the Claremont Courier, even though I haven't lived there for 15 years.
Yeah, that's like me. I have friends in Redlands. When I go to the Redlands Farmers Market, whoa, it's huge. I mean, it's big. Rancho has a small one in Terra Vista.
Yeah.
It's very small. It's kind of disappointing. And Uplands, I don't know what happened to it, but it used to be thriving. And then they opened up two, one in Memorial Park, one in downtown Upland, and they kind of dissolved each other, and now they're trying to just do one in downtown Upland. And I feel bad, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking when they thought they couldn't do one farmer's market, then they thought they could do two. I mean,
I think they're just trying things out to see what works. I think
What
the
works.
problem is they need somebody professional. And I'm not saying that Eric isn't a professional promoter. He is, but there's probably some limitations as far as what he could do in the Memorial Park there. When I went to the Memorial Park one, and I did for a while, I found that some of the vendors stopped coming. And same thing with downtown. There wasn't a reliable group of vendors with merchandise that I was wanting to buy. Whereas if you go to Claremont, they spend a lot of money. There's a company, a very professional company that
Right.
runs it. They've run it for years. And you know who's going to be there when. You know that they're going to be there. And
Right.
so for me, I liked hummus. Love hummus. And then the people that sold hummus stopped selling it in downtown. So they had it at Memorial Park. But then they stopped going to Memorial Park. And it was like, well, gee, I get my vegetables at Vaughn's or at Sprouts. So it's kind of hard to make a special trip or even to think about saving up to buy my vegetables in the park or downtown because I can just get it at Sprouts or at Vaughn's or Albertsons.
Excuse me
Sure.
while I go in the booth real quick and check everything because
Sure.
I'm by myself. So you guys talk.
Okay, so Jamal and I will
Jamil.
talk. Jamil?
Yes,
Is that
yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, no, so you can call me. Either
So-
way, yeah, Jamil is.
Jamil, do you shop at farmers markets? or
I
Where do you get your produce for making your sandwiches?
I go honestly speaking, there is one next to my shop is called the Red Tomatoes. That's a farmers market also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do that, and we have lots of big companies. They deliver us directly.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Those are the. But if something need very fresh and we are run out, then we run to that farmers market, Red Tomatoes.
It's convenient.
It is very convenient. It is very convenient. Yeah. And then the rest, yeah, since it's a big store, and then we deal with the lots of eggs, all those things, definitely those things comes all from our suppliers, different suppliers we use. Yeah.
Right. So that's really important. The convenience is important.
Right.
And then the relationships that you establish with your suppliers. After
Right,
a while,
right.
you get to know, the people, and you look forward to seeing
Absolutely,
them and
yes, yes.
doing business with them. And I think people, when they go to farmers markets, that's part of the connection.
Yeah. I love to go to farmers market also to get all those fresh strawberries, all kind of fresh vegetables, everything. I love to go to farmers market.
Well,
but
it's
right-
pretty on the eyes.
Oh, absolutely.
Eye candy there, except that there's
That's a
beautiful
good thing you
vegetables,
said,
and you
yeah.
know that they're making you healthy.
Right.
It's just a fun experience to do that, and I like that as well.
Yeah.
And
Very good. Wow,
it's
thank
nice
you,
to see
thank
the
you,
hustle
Dan.
and bustle of people going in and out, and because I spend a lot of time in Claremont, I can think of the Claremont Farmers Market where you would also go because people you go to church with, they would be there at the
Right.
farmers market buying and selling. People that you do business with would be there. So
Right.
it's again a place to reconnect with
Right.
people that you like. It's
Absolutely,
more
yeah.
than just a shopping experience.
Yes.
And I think that people that want to make a go out of some kind of a community event like that, it has to be seen as this is a social experience as
Absolutely,
well.
yeah, I
and
agree.
and both the downtown merchants in Upland and the farmers market in Memorial Park. They were doing that. They were having really fun things for kids there, and I don't know if it was the lack of promotion. I suspect that might be the case. There were some financial constraints that both groups had that will then limit the number of people that will be reached. So I'm hoping that we can turn this around, that we will find a group that can make this go, that can help make downtown Upland a vibrant community.
Yeah, hopefully. And you mentioned red tomatoes.
Red tomatoes.
Red tomatoes, right
Yes, yes.
there on Ramona.
Ramona and I think
Foothill.
Foothill.
Yeah.
Right.
Great place to buy produce. The aisles are very slim. It's kind of hard to get around. And
But
if
they
you-
have fresh fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, but they got great produce. They have
Great produce,
really
yes,
the
yes.
great produce I mean, the prices are unbeatable.
Yes. I like that prices too. Yeah. right. You are absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you go to Albertsons, you buy pineapple, it's $3, maybe $4. You go to red tomatoes, it's like $1.
Yes. And
So-
it's a very good one. It's not like a bad one. I mean, the
Yeah,
good
no,
fresh
no,
one.
it's good.
Very fresh one. Yes.
Once in a while, their lemons aren't that great, but most of the time, everything there's good. They have blood oranges, which I love.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Oh, yes.
yeah, I love blood oranges,
Yeah.
and you can't find them anywhere else. So.
I agree. Yeah.
No, Red Tomatoes is a great place. I know it's a Mediterranean, themed type market. They don't sell alcohol or anything, and they don't sell pork, but they're nice people, and it's a good place. They sell a lot of dates, and me being Turkish, I like dates.
And I love tahini. Good.
Tahini, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, yeah,
Good
they have
tahini is,
there,
you
yeah.
know, that's
Tahini, they have tahini too. Yes.
yeah, excellent. So now that I know the orientation there, that helps me because I do like cooking a lot of different things from different ethnicities, and so knowing that, it's easy then for me to say, oh, okay, I need to have something for one of my Mediterranean recipes. That would be the place. Good. Now, I hope you don't mind me steering the conversation a little bit, Jamel. You've lived in different places. How
I
many
live-
languages do you speak?
That's a very good question. I speak 5 different languages.
Whoa! Which ones are they?
I speak Bengali, that is my mother tongue, definitely. I'm from Bangladesh and I speak Bengali. And then I lived in Russia. I told you that I studied there. I worked for a company also for a long time. So I speak very good Russian. I read, write, and speak very good Russian. Definitely English is our second language in our country, but the first language right now definitely is my country. Yeah, so I speak English. And then the Indian, which is Hindi, Urdu is Pakistani. They are pretty much similar, but if you can speak Hindi, you can speak Urdu also. So I speak both, that one also. Yeah, so all
That-
those languages I can speak, yes.
Well, that's fascinating. What I've always understood is that if you're able to be linguistically capable, that also improves your IQ, your cognitive abilities.
Yeah,
All
maybe you
over,
are right, yes.
particularly if that happens at an early age. So
Right,
your
right.
children, if they have been raised to speak different languages, they're direct beneficiaries of that. And I saw that while teaching.
Yeah, they speak, they understand Bengali, since we speak Bengali sometimes at our home, especially me, my wife. Yeah, but they understand. They can speak also. My son can speak very good, but my daughters, they are not that good. But yeah, as you mentioned, that the kids, they can actually in their early age, if they hear read some languages, they can catch up to 7 languages. This is the scientifically proven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And,
And
that helps
they can
them in their
fluently.
math. It helps them in
Oh,
their
absolutely,
reading,
absolutely.
in everything. And I'm amazed that you speak very clear, precise English. It's very easy to understand you, and that's remarkable as well.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I took Spanish for 2 years in high school, 1 year in college, and I still muy poquito español. I mean, I speak very little Spanish. I mean, it didn't soak in. I think it was the drugs and stuff I was doing back in my college days, but it didn't
That's
sink
funny.
in. I mean, you know, chocolate caliente, por favor. I could speak a little bit. When I go to Mexico, I try to conform and speak their language because we vacation down in Mexico every year.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a driver, and he drives us to, different cities and stuff down in Puerto Vallarta. And I was trying to speak to him. I go, Buenos noches, senor. He goes, I speak English. He goes, I'm from Downey. I go, what are you doing here? He goes, too many Mexicans in L.A. I'm like, okay, then you speak fine English. He goes, yeah, I went to Downey High School.
Oh, that's
I'm
good.
like, okay. So
That's funny.
Bangladesh, I don't know much about it except for the George Harrison song. It's a small country,
Very
right?
small country, actually. Very small. It's actually, I would say, 1/3 of California. It's very small, yeah. But the population is actually very dense population, lots of.
Do you have family there still?
Yeah. My parents lives over there. My all brothers, sisters, all are over there. Yeah, I'm the only one who moved out from my country for a long time. As I said, that I lived in Russia also for 12, 13 years. So I think I left around like 21 years old, right? And then right now I'm 45 years old. So yeah,
Do you
I
get to
left.
go back very often?
I go. Yeah, I go. I try to go every year. Yeah, last year I went 2 times. Yeah. But now, yeah, I have 3 kids with my whole family.
Sure,
it's
it's
pretty
hard.
expensive also, yeah. But I try to go, yeah.
Now, where is it located? Because I'm trying to visualize a map of
It's
Africa,
next to,
of Asia.
no,
where-
Asia, definitely
Yeah.
it's in Asia. It's next to India. We
Okay.
have a border with India and the Burma.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so right over there is the Bay of Bengal, yeah. right
My
over
my
there.
recollections with George Harrison was they had the concert for the famine there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do they still have an impoverished situation like they did back in the 70s? Or actually, I may have even been late 60s.
We do have. I don't know actually that much about the Bangladesh also because I've been left. I mean about their all those kind of whatever you mentioned, the concert, all those things. I'm not sure. Yeah, definitely we do have. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
there's a
poverty
very-
level is still very high. People are
poverty level
still-
is very high, but I would say that Bangladesh, yeah, is considered as a poor country. Yeah, but the people have tons of money also. I don't know. I was talking to someone the other day. I said that, oh my goodness, people, they do all kind of business because right now Bangladesh main income comes from the export. We are very good in garments industry.
Mm.
So lots of country, and actually from USA also, all kind of Walmart, then JCPenney, Macy's, all they have the small offices in Bangladesh. The workers are great. I think, as you mentioned that there are low income workers.
they're low paid,
so
so
low
that's how
paid.
companies
That's
can
why.
make so much
right,
money
right,
on
right,
them.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, but the quality in Bangladesh, Nepal, like all those kind of small countries are great.
Mhm.
They are not like China, or I don't want to mention in a bad way. Definitely,
No, it's-
China is a great country. Yeah, but I'm just saying that the quality of the products comes out very good. That's why lots of company they are going out for all those small countries, and yeah, our main revenues comes from there.
And so when I buy a garment that's made in Bangladesh, I'm actually contributing to the Bangladesh
Right,
economy
yeah.
and helping the poor people.
Absolutely,
that are living
yeah,
there.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah. Okay, so
A little brief history of Bangladesh.
I know a little bit of history of Bangladesh. Now
Well,
go
it's
back
nice to
to
meet somebody from a country.
Absolutely.
I've not seen or heard much of, but I love the Beatles. And when George Harrison
Yeah,
had that
that's
whole
right, that's
album
how
for
exactly.
Bangladesh, it raised my awareness of this small country where people were starving.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my education on Bangladesh
Yeah.
ended.
Oh no! Right
so it's
now, I
really
would not.
nice to know about
Yeah.
that. And I have seen garments made in Bangladesh.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, yes. And it's not actually like before. Before it was, I mean, we had lots of natural disasters also, the floods, all those things.
right.
And nowadays, actually, it's better. Nowadays, I would say like last 15, 20 years, yeah, the all economy went up, everything. People are doing great. Yeah, people are not in that poverty like before. Yeah,
So the
definitely.
government has built the infrastructure
Oh, yes,
to
yes,
deal
yes.
with the
Oh,
floods and control it
You
better.
control it
and
better,
there's
all
better
those things. Yeah.
Wi-Fi, there's
Oh,
better
yes, yes, yes.
electricity,
Yes,
and,
yes,
and
yes.
maybe even medical care.
Medical care,
take care
all
of the
those, and
people.
yeah, even though as I mentioned that, I mean there are export industry doing very good, and then now the loss of big companies, they went out over there and they made their offices, all those things. Yeah.
What is the main religion in Bangladesh?
Mostly the Muslim, yeah, 90% I would say the Muslim, and then we have Hindus, and then Christian, Buddhists. All Buddhists, I think, very low. I mean, majorities, yeah. Mostly the Muslim, yeah, it's a Muslim majority country.
And the people seem to get along pretty well.
Oh, very well.
Now,
Bangladesh
why is it they get along, and then you have other countries close where they don't get along? Do you think there's a reason for that?
I can't.
He's like, I didn't know I was going to come here and talk politics
Oh, come on, you're with a politician.
and religion.
You're with a minister and a politician. And it's chaotic radio. Everything is game.
Yeah, I mean, whatever right now is going on out there, ISIS, all those things, they are one of the illiterate people in the planet, I would say. They don't have any clue what they are talking about Islam, talking about the Muslims, and then all those things. And because they don't have any kind of, I mean, I would say the knowledge is about the real Islam. Yeah, that's why these people in Bangladesh, or I don't know, some other countries also, there are you name it, like Dubai, all those things. Yeah, people are so educated, and people know that we don't have this kind of things.
Interesting.
We don't have at all. I mean, whatever we are hearing, all those Syrias here and there, bombing Afghanistan, all those things, we don't have at all.
So the key is education.
Absolutely.
What a surprise.
And women are free to get education.
Yeah.
That's
oh,
critical.
yes.
And they
Absolutely.
can drive.
They can drive. They
don't have to wear burqas.
Honestly speaking, I live out of my country almost like 30 years. It's been, I mean, if you are combining this country, the other countries, I lived in Europe also. Now I go back to Bangladesh. I see my families, I see my niece, all those things. They are so smart.
That's wonderful.
They are so smart. They do all kind of, I mean, English medium. Their schools are. We have, I think, one of the biggest English medium schools and colleges in the major cities.
Wow.
Starting from the kindergarten up to your university level.
More countries need to follow that suit.
Oh, you can believe, Dan, that how smart people are right now. Sometimes very interesting. Whenever I go to Bangladesh, and they are, you know, that my niece, they say, oh, okay, bring me this one, that one, and they just exactly go which store I have, how many miles from so that I don't miss it.
And they have the internet.
They have internet.
They have Google Maps.
Google Maps, everything. Right now, Uber also in Bangladesh.
There you go.
Everything is there. Everything. I'm very surprised that it's so, I mean, right now developed countries, especially the kids, and then all the school colleges, they are getting the educations.
Yeah, my doctor actually at Kaiser is a sheik.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
He
from
wears
India.
a black turban.
Turban. Yes, yes,
And
yes.
when I first saw him, I'm like, oh my goodness, you know. Then he's like, hey man, what's up? I'm like, hello. He's like, I'm like, where are you from? And he's like, I'm from New York. Yeah, he goes, I live in San Diego.
And you go, all
Okay.
right, San Diego.
He goes, I'm a Chargers fan. And then he found out, he goes, I'm going to move back to San Diego so I could go see my Chargers. And then they moved back up here.
Yeah.
But he was a great guy, you know. I don't know the difference between Sheiks and Muslims and all the different Middle Eastern religions, but he religiously wore his turban, and it didn't bother me after I visited him 2 or 3, 4, 5, too many times, unfortunately. But he was a great guy. I mean, you know, and I don't really see religion in people just like I don't see color in people. I'm kind of colorblind. I mean, when I see you, I just see a nice guy who's running his own business. And
Oh, Dan, I totally agree with you. We all are the human being, right?
yeah,
We all are the human being. Yeah, different color or different ethnicity or different, but we are a human being. We are as a person. If you are great, that's it. What else you want? You're surrounding all the good people. You talk. Go alone with them. That's it.
One of my great hopes for the future came when I was a teacher. I taught for 20 years, about 18 years, in the Rancho Etiwanda School District, which is Rancho and part of Fontana. And one of the things I saw as I was nearing the end before I retired was kids were more and more colorblind, and gay slurs became less and less popular, less and less acceptable. So when I first started teaching, this was second grade, and for a couple of years, third grade, every now and then you'd hear, oh, he's so gay. And it's like, no, you can't say that. And sometimes people would say, well, you have to tell them that that's not respectful. And I go, well, no, it's that the problem isn't that it's not respectful. There's nothing disrespectful about being gay. The problem is the way that word is used. So I would talk to them, and I wouldn't say, look, gay is not a bad word. Gay is and I wouldn't go into sexual orientation in second grade, but I would say in second grade, gay means happy. So the problem I'm having with the way you're saying that is you're trying to make that person feel bad. And how would you feel if someone tried to make you feel bad? What I saw as I was going on in my years as a teacher is that the kids, there was less and less fear of the multiple cultures within a class. So I had Muslims in my class, I had Hindus in my class, I had
Christians,
Zoroastrists, I had all sorts of, and atheists, whatever. And it seemed like the kids were focusing on, who do I like being around? Who can I have fun with?
Absolutely.
Who can I talk to? That was the bottom line. Who makes me feel good? Who cared about what the color of their skin was? Who cared about whether they had 2 moms or 2 dads?
Right.
That wasn't the problem, that wasn't an issue. It was, who makes me feel good when I'm around them?
Exactly, yes, when I'm around them.
And I was happy to see at the school district also fostering that with our programs, with the programs that we had, teaching kids how to do projects together and include people that didn't naturally get included in things, more of an emotional social development. I really like that focus that they're still continuing to do now.
Yeah, I was pretty homophobic, just to be honest. I'm a Christian, and I was pretty homophobic. And then my best friend that I've known since high school came out of the closet. I'm 48, so he's 50, I believe. And he came out of the closet about 10 years ago, and he's living with his boyfriend now, a guy named Todd, who's a professor at Cal Poly. And he's never really, he doesn't fly the rainbow flag. He doesn't, he's not out and about gay, but he told me, he goes, Dan, I'm gay. This is my boyfriend, So that just put me in a whole, it kind of shook my world apart because I grew up with this guy. I shared hotel rooms with him in Vegas. he never ever tried to hit on me, which I kind of take offense to. Am I that ugly?
Well,
But
he probably knew that he would be rejected. You know, who wants
Yeah.
to be rejected? You know?
so no, he never hit on me. And people like they get all crazy, like, oh, I don't like those gay fags because they're gonna hit on me. And I'm like, no, they're not. Don't worry about it. My best friend was gay. I slept in the same car with him in Tijuana. We slept in the car together, and he never fiddled me or tried anything goofy.
Right.
That's his style. That's his life. It has no effect on mine.
Right.
You know, one of my first
Live and let
significant
live.
relationships was with a guy who was bisexual. He was gay. Well, he had a committed gay relationship before me, and I was 19 years old when I was with him, and he took me to San Francisco to meet his former lover and the community up there. And 19 years old, raised in Orange County, I went to a private school, very conservative. This was my first exposure to the gay community. I was in love. All these great-looking guys running around in these little tiny bathing suits, and I had so much fun with them that I was actually fascinated by the culture. The homophobia was never an issue to me because I was exposed at 19 to this really positive, very highly cultured art community in San Francisco. And from then in, you know, if I had a hairdresser that was gay, I loved it. I immediately said, "Oh man, tell me about your boyfriend." You know? And I have friends that I cultivate with that community because, not to say that they're any different, but they're a people that have had to repress their expression of their love. And when you have a group of people that have lived with that kind of oppression, there's a freedom that they have when they know that you completely accept them, that they can just let loose. I enjoy that relationship with them. And that's still part of the reason why I hang on to the community, part of the community in Claremont that I do, because the church that I sometimes attend, they embrace all love, no matter what it is. They have ordained gay ministers. They are open and affirming in their creed, and they go out of their way to help anybody feel comfortable. And I think that's vital for all of our well-being and for our communities, is to just learn to accept, live with each other's limitations, and to maintain that respect. To me, that's the bottom line in all life.
Yeah. Some people make fun of me because I'm an alcoholic, so I go to AA every Friday night, except for this Friday. I'm going up to my mom's house in Carson City, Nevada. So this Friday I won't be there, but it's a gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender friendly meeting.
Cool.
And people like, why do you go there? You're not any of those things. I go, it's friendly. It doesn't mean you have to be that.
Right.
There are couples that go there. There are plenty of straight guys there. I go, there's plenty of straight women there. I go, that's not what it's about, but these people are just interesting. And I like the culture. I like I'm always into since I was a teenager, I've always been into the counterculture, into just different people and stuff. And that doesn't mean I'm gay. It doesn't mean I'm bi. It doesn't mean I'm a lesbian. It doesn't mean I'm transgender. I just enjoy the company of the people because they're people.
That is the things I was mentioning you also, that we all are the people. Yeah, you need to
like
know
you
that.
said.
Exactly. Yeah, we all are the people. You need to know that to whom you feel comfortable to along with hang out with you. That's it. It doesn't matter. It's a gay, Muslim, black, white, whatever color it is.
But as you expand your community, as you get out of your comfort zone, you get to appreciate more and more. So I'm not particularly comfortable leaving my house and traveling to another country because I don't speak other languages other than English. I just came back in October to a trip to Mexico, and I wanted to feed the dogs there because there were starving dogs. And so I went to a little store, and I did not know how to say dog food. So I just said, oh, okay, well, carne is meat. So I said carne para, I know is 4, Pero. And the woman just looked at me as I, no. And I'm going, well, what's wrong with that? Well, what she thought I was saying was I was looking for dog meat. So what I found was it was comer para pero. And then I came back after I found some dog food. Somebody had their own dog, and they had a big, like, 100-pound bag of dog food. They sold me a bag, and I went back to this other lady, and I showed it to her, and we just laughed and laughed. But she's this crazy American looking for dog meat.
Yeah, thank goodness you didn't walk out of the store with a couple pounds of dog meat.
Well, I don't think they sell that there.
I hope not.
And what I found, actually, to my surprise, because I've been to Mexico a number of times, we were in small villages. We went to Copper Canyon in Sinaloa, and then we went to Chihuahua and Casas Grandes. And this is where the Talamahara Indians live. And we wanted to learn more about their culture and their pottery, rituals and things like that, and their food. I was surprised that there weren't the number of dogs, starving dogs, injured dogs that I've seen in the past that used to make me it would break my heart to see that. I can't say they were all super well cared for because it wasn't these aren't rich communities. And so the greatest resources don't go to them, but they were well behaved. They did not fight badly, and they weren't starving. So that was happy. Now my husband went to Nepal.
Oh,
This
okay.
last summer. In fact, tonight in Rancho Cucamonga, he's going to be giving a slideshow on his trip to Nepal. He was there for a month.
Where in Rancho Cucamonga?
It's at the community center there on
Goldie Lewis?
Yes, at the Goldie Lewis Community Center, and that starts at 7:00. It's with the Sierra Club. He spent 3 weeks trekking to a base camp at the top, at the base of a 24,000-foot mountain. Starts with an M.
Himalaya.
It was in the Himalayas, yes, but I can't remember the name of the mountain there.
Mountain.
And then he spent a week in Nepal at a wildlife sanctuary. He's an avid birder. He likes to see birds that he hasn't seen before, and he was hoping to see tigers there, but it wasn't.
He needs to go to Bangladesh to see the tiger.
Well,
Tigers are
we
from
would
Bangladesh.
very much like to see. We like to travel to see this. We have been to Africa. We've been to places that aren't necessarily comfortable to be in because the food is different and the language barrier. And I've never been able to learn any other language but English. And I tried German for years, Spanish for years, and I just don't have that natural ability. Because when I was young, I didn't have to.
Either.
You know, raised in Orange County, I didn't have to speak anything but English, you know.
Right.
But had I been forced, had I been in a situation like you were in,
Yeah.
where it was necessity, then I would have been enriched, enriched in that way. And I see that as definitely an advantage that people can get.
We're looking at going on vacation next year. We've been looking at websites and stuff. And I'm thinking of forbidden fruit. You know, I'm thinking Cuba.
Nice.
I would love to go to Cuba.
Yes.
And, then I said North Korea. And my wife was like, no. I'm like, it would be kind of exciting. You know? I want to be escorted by the government and told what I could say and what I can't say. And, I'd stay in line. I wouldn't do anything to get locked up, and tear down any posters or anything. She goes, no, we're not going to do North Korea. Cuba I could see, but, we did Jamaica last year, so this year, I don't know. We're still looking. It may be Scotland because the prices for Scotland are amazingly affordable.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But is that the forbidden fruit that you're looking for?
No, my friend David, who owns Line 6, who does our audio equipment, is from there. He's from Dublin, Ireland, and now he lives in Dublin, California. And he always tells me, oh, you got to go there. You got to go there. He goes, I love it there. It's beautiful. The food is good. But he goes, America's the best. He goes, I'd never go back. I go visit my parents, but I never go back. Never.
You've got a good accent there. You fit right in. And if you wanted to have forbidden fruit, try. I think they have this thing called haggis or something, which is stomach linings or, or some kind of a sausage or something that people that are very open to experimental foods can try there. But what I see in Cuba is you've got the music there. And you've got these beautiful parks and
the
architecture
cars,
and the
old 50
cars
cars.
and everything.
Right.
But now it's harder to get to Cuba. It was open for a while, and now there's more restrictions. So you have to go with a travel company, and it's so much more expensive than it was, say, less than a year ago.
Yeah, but I was looking at the resorts. They have some beautiful resorts.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of pricey.
It's private. Well, Scotland sounds like a good plan. My husband and I spent our honeymoon walking coast to coast in England, and it was like a 240-mile walk, staying at pub. This is a 240-mile pub crawl is what it actually turned out to be. And I thought, oh, wow, with all this walking, man, I can just eat whatever I want because I'm going to burn it off. And I gained 15 pounds in 3 weeks because of all the cheeses and the pork chops and the ice cream and food.
That's funny.
Food was good.
Okay, we're approaching an end to the show, unfortunately.
Oh, this was so fun. This was so fun.
Did you have fun?
Absolutely. I can't believe that this was 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours goes by quick.
Yeah, when you're laughing with good people. Absolutely. Not at good people, laughing with good people. We didn't get any phone calls from anybody harassing me. I just thought someone would call and give me a tough question, but it didn't happen. Thank you.
No, I led the phone calls into here. I went back there to check, but no. So I didn't think I got any.
Well, 7 o'clock in the morning is early, and you're probably getting the commuters, and you got to keep your hands free, so no cell phone usage while you're driving. So there you go.
Please don't do that, man. I still see people doing that and running red lights while they're talking on their cell phone, and it drives me nuts.
A guy died. A father of a 7 or 8 year old girl died a couple weeks ago in Upland because of a person texting while driving.
Oh,
it's just not a good thing.
It is not a good thing.
It's not necessary.
Yeah.
Don't text and drive.
Yeah, so this weekend is going to be the Festival of the Lights at the Mission Inn in Riverside. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's a great time. Fireworks, and they light up the whole Mission Inn, the whole street. It's a great time. I'm not going to go. I'm going to be up in Carson City visiting my mom for Thanksgiving. So I have that down on my calendar, but I'm just going to give Mission Inn a plug in Riverside. Also want to thank Whiteside. That's my rehab center. www.whiteside.com. Okay, so anything.
Thanks for listening, folks. This has been a pure pleasure. Thank you, Dan, for having me. Thank you, Jamail. I loved getting to know. Did I say it right, Jamail?
Perfect. Yes.
Yes. I love getting to know you this morning, and I'll be on over there at New York Bagel here.
You got to try out his bagels.
Absolutely.
Plug your bagel shop one more time.
Oh, yes. Okay, everyone is invited to see our bagel shop. It's in a New York Bagel Cafe and Deli, 8019 Archibald Avenue, Rancho Cucamonga, California, right in the corner of Foothill and Archibald Avenue. 8019 Archibald Avenue, Rancho Cucamonga, New York Bagel Cafe and Deli. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Jamal. Let's see here. Okay, I think we're just about done.
That's fun.
I'm going to take us out with some music here. No, I guess I'm not. It's not playing. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, and here I am. I'm hosting a show, engineering a show, doing it all by myself.
We can sing Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, are you Wayne or the other guy?
I'm kidding. I would not want to subject anybody to that.
All right. No, we're going to take off here. I'm going to have to roll on into the engineered studio and put music on, take us off the air, and we'll be good. So just give me 1 minute, and I'll escort you guys out.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for
Bye.
coming in. Thank
Bye
you
bye.
so much.
Thank you.
This was pure pleasure.
Oh, it's nice.
Pleasure.
Oh, have a bagel.
Oh, and here's basil for your wife.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Or she thanks you.
Yes. And I really need this to go straight over here.
So good to be here. It's great. When I told my coworker